It's Monday, it's September 8th, 2025. We have some reflection to do on the trial of Donna Adelson. We just finished that on Thursday. Thursday felt like a marathon, a whirlwind, 10 years, one day, all the things. Y'all were with me when the verdict came in, like 8 o'clock local time. And I was just like, oh my goodness, that is late. It was surprising to me. It was surprising to y'all. Georgia Kappelman had been like, I'm rooting for it to be shorter. I'm not. With Donna Adelson not testifying, I thought it would be a little bit longer. It wasn't. So we're going to talk about what the jury foreperson had to say. If the jurors choose to speak out, look, jurors have the right to say nothing about their process. It's truly up to them. When they do, I'm always interested in what they have to say. Juror tells all. Jury foreperson in Donna Adelson's trial speaks out after conviction. Not even 24 hours after Donna Adelson was read her guilty verdict, a woman on the 12-person jury took to TikTok to dish about her time in the courtroom. Jurors were tasked with weighing Adelson's innocence or guilt in the 2014 murder for hire that killed Dan Markell. Here's why I don't love the use of the word dish, because if a juror had gone on to Good Morning America like they did in the Murdaugh case, would anyone refer to it as dish? They'd be like, oh, a juror spoke to Good Morning America. It seems a little patronizing to me, but jurors, A, can speak wherever they want, and B, I do think there is still a tension between legacy media, new media, and social media. And so when someone chooses to just go on their own platform, whatever that platform is, and share the information, I feel like the media always tries to downplay it, minimize it, or somehow delegitimize it. Because honestly, the attention is on social more than it's on any legacy media platforms. And so I always am interested in looking at that tension, because we see it a lot, even though the distribution on something like TikTok is going to be substantially greater than the distribution on just about any website you'll find. So the jury foreperson spoke. But again, if you're the juror, why would you bother going somewhere where they can shorten your answers, cut your answers, splice your answers, edit your answers, and you have like 3 minutes? It's not really enough time to have a discussion. Then again, I lean so much towards, you've got a microphone, you can have a chat. Why not? Talk about it yourself. I am glad they verified that it was the foreperson that was speaking, though, because that's something I could not do myself. The foreperson took to TikTok to share about her time in the courtroom. Jurors were tasked with weighing Adelson's innocence or guilt in the 2014 murder for hire that killed Dan Markell, and ultimately they found Adelson guilty as charged. Yeah, Donna was convicted on all 3 counts. She'll be back in court in October for a case management conference. Sentencing will be later. Sentencing on count 1 is mandatory and statutory, life period. So the sentencing on the other 2 counts matters but doesn't. She is the 5th person to be charged in the murder of Markell, a law professor at Florida State University. The 75-year-old was convicted of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit, and solicitation of. The killing has led to the convictions of the 2 hitmen, a middleman between the Adelson family and the hitmen, and her son Charlie Adelson, who was convicted in 2023. A juror who identified herself as a foreperson said she led deliberations and delivered the unanimous verdict to the, quote, matriarch mastermind, language that came from the defense in their closing. Quote, now that the trial is over, I'm free to talk about this, she said on the public TikTok video. My mind is just absolutely blown. If you have questions, let me know, because I can finally talk. I told you, jurors want to chat. They don't get to chat. They are often ready to process this with everyone. The Tallahassee Democrat who confirmed her position on the jury through court records and visual identification, which is just like, we had someone in the courtroom and that is the same face, requested to speak to the juror who asked more than a day after this story published online to remain anonymous. Viewers took to the comment section, however, loading the juror with questions about the case. Below is an excerpt of the commenter's questions and the responses in her own words, which we're going to watch together. We're just going to go through them. What evidence convinced you, surprised you? Honestly, there was so much. She's a smart woman, which is why she avoided being convicted for 11 years. Rob's testimony was telling, the code was telling, the emails, texts, and calls indicate how power hungry she was. Did the defense ever convince you maybe she is innocent? I mean, there is a big difference between guilty and not guilty and innocence. And so if you are looking at, is Donna Adelson someone not involved in any of this? I don't think anybody's thinking this. If you are thinking, did they prove solicitation? Did they prove what Donna knew before the murder? Then you get into questions of, did they prove that she was guilty beyond a reasonable doubt? And I think that's a fair question. Did the defense ever convince you maybe she is innocent? When they mentioned that there's evidence that states Donna thought her son was being extorted just 2 months after the murder, I questioned myself, like, maybe I missed something. But we talked about it and confirmed that was not in evidence. It was part of Charlie's testimony. So that sparked a little but it ended up not bearing any weight. Had the jury heard anything about the case prior to sitting on the trial? Answer, while she acknowledged posting on TikTok during the trial when court was not in session, she said she never sought out or bumped into stories about the case. Not a single member of the jury knew anything about this case before being selected to serve on the jury. I imagine that's going to raise some eyebrows posting on social, right? Here's the thing though. The judge tells the jurors, do not seek out information about this case. Do not go looking for information about this case. That doesn't mean you can't be on social about other things. I don't think courts can stop someone from posting on social about what they had for dinner, about what they are up to, as long as it's not jury selection. Ultimately, courts can't stop jurors from engaging in their normal patterns of life. They can say, don't look at anything about this case. And if you're already not looking at something about the case, it's unlikely that all of a sudden you're going to start seeing things about this case. I talk about it all the time. Dr. B is on social a bit and was on social during the entire Depp Heard case, saw nothing about it. There has not yet been a case that I've covered that has come across Dr. B's socials. It's the same with Travis. I ask him, what are you seeing on the limited social that you're on? Because neither of my kids are on social much, but what are you seeing? And Travis is like, I don't know what the fuck 6'7" is, but whatever the fuck that is. And I'm like, 6'7". Fair. He's like, I'm seeing memes I don't even get. So yeah, it's fair that jurors can be on jury duty on social and see nothing about a case. Did the jury find divorce lawyer Linda Bailey's testimony offensive as she denied the contentiousness of the Adelson-Markell divorce? Answer, yes. I believe all of us had something to say about that, I bet. The way she kept avoiding answering the question from Georgia Kappelman, the prosecutor really ticked me off. Like, oh, $80,000 isn't a lot to who? You? The one who's a quote unquote super lawyer and has been for the last 37 years? Miss Ma'am. Oh, does she say Miss Ma'am? Ma'am. Yes. Most divorces aren't going to be contentious to a divorce lawyer of almost 40 years. They're going to be like, I've seen some wild shit. This is not the wildest shit I've seen. Lawyers see wild shit. Then again, so do pilots. Just because pilots might say turbulence isn't the worst turbulence they've experienced, I still might be terrified, right? So I love that they were like, oh, 80K isn't a lot to who? But again, people who see some shit get desensitized to the shit that they see. And they're like, it's going to be okay. This is normal. We try to remind that. And it's something that as I was a newer DA, I was not as mindful of. I become better at it the longer I've been a lawyer, and it is something we had to remind new lawyers about. When you are doing your everyday work in a courtroom, some coworkers you get along with better than others, but you are in your workspace with your coworkers. And so when you are in that space, you have casual conversation. You talk to them about what they were up to this weekend, what's going on with their situationship, all the things. But for somebody sitting in the back of the courtroom who has never been to court before, who is a family member of somebody in custody, victim of a crime, a family member of a victim of a crime, a witness that has never taken the witness stand before, it is not their normal day. They are stressed and terrified, and they feel like they're going to puke. So there are times when y'all are sitting in the courtroom just having a kiki with your coworkers and some coffee, they are stressed the fuck out. And that is something those in the courtroom can forget, but that's not specific to the courtroom. That happens in hospitals, in medical, and everywhere else where you interact with the public who's not normally in your workspace. It's surprising to me that this witness who is taking the stand forgot to be the human witness that showed up and was just like, I'm showing up in full lawyer mode. Linda Bailey, who I'm sure is terrifying to go against in court, seemed to forget that she was not going against Georgia Kappelman in court. Her role in court was to explain to the jury, and she did not bring the human side of that. She brought the, I'm a lawyer in court, this is my domain, what? It did not help. So I'm not surprised that the jurors mismammed her. Do you think Wendy Adelson was involved? The question everyone wants to know. Answer, I agree that she was part of this in some way, shape, or form. She insulated herself from the co-conspirators way too well. She plays quote unquote dumb so well. Look at the evidence. Testimony from her brother Rob and her ex-boyfriend Jeff. I think she provided info to the other conspirators to try to set Jeff up. So the jury believed that she was setting Jeff up. It's going to be interesting to see where that falls on what happens to Wendy. I think the state is going to do everything they can to charge her with something. I just wish I knew when. I know she's panicking after the verdict was delivered last night. I think they have enough evidence to convict Wendy for accessory, possibly even conspiracy, but they haven't done it yet because they needed her to testify in Donna's trial first. That's what I thought. We talked about that. Why not Wendy first? Well, if Wendy is the first domino, then you prosecute her last. Like when the dominoes fall, you go back up the chain. It's a domino effect, she went on to say, which we've given that analogy a couple times. I even believe they should be able to convict Harvey for accessory. That's interesting. He knew and he didn't do anything about it, just went along with Donna and kept quiet. Interesting. The article clarifies neither Wendy nor Harvey, her father, have been implicated in Markel's death. I quibble with that, in that the prosecution continues to refer to Wendy as an unindicted co-conspirator, and they don't refer to Harvey as such. How did the jury come to such a quick decision? We went over everything several times because this is a big decision and this is serious. We all took our duty very seriously. I have found that from every juror I've spoken to. Like, this isn't just fun and games, it's someone's life and it's the law, and we all took it very seriously. At about the 3-hour mark, once we got moving and grooving, we voted several different times in several different ways. People were still talking to share their thoughts with each other about the case and whatever. I passed out pieces of paper for everyone to write their final verdict down, then emptied one of the little containers we had for snacks. I want to know what the snacks were. Can we get a detailed accounting of I'm curious. And had everyone put it in there. I did this because I want people to write down what they honestly feel and think based on the evidence in the law without feeling pressured to go along with what everyone else is saying. I think that's very mindful, very demure, very mindful, very conscientious. Secret ballot, love it. All 12 pieces of paper said guilty. It was such a wild experience. That is the overview from the Tallahassee Democrat. We're going to go look at those TikToks, then answer questions.
Donna Adelson was found guilty on all 3 charges for killing her ex-son-in-law. I'm here to say that I was on the jury and I got to be the foreperson. If you have questions, let me know because I can finally talk. I'm going to answer some questions now, but I do want to preface, okay? For one, not a single member on the jury knew anything about this case.
Why are we moving so much?
Being selected to serve on the jury. Okay?
Is that a TikTok thing, y'all?
Number 2, as far as people's concerns as to me being on social media and posting my TikToks in the last week or 2, there was no rule stating that we cannot be on social media. The rule is provided by Judge Everett in this case. Okay?
Yeah.
We cannot seek out information about this case. We cannot talk about the case with anyone.
Yep.
We cannot listen to others talk about the case.
Yep.
We cannot do anything in regard to the case during the trial. But now that I'm released as a juror, I have the freedom to say and do whatever.
Yep.
But also in that regard, I don't watch the news. It's depressing. I haven't watched the news in years. If anything, I'll check my weather app. My little Apple weather app once a week just to see.
I have like 4 weather apps and constantly check what Ryan Hall y'all's saying, but fair.
My For You page on my TikTok, where I am the most active, is mostly like TikTok shop videos. Like members of like.
Isn't all TikTok now TikTok shop videos? TikTok users, let me know.
The moms of TikTok community, because that is the content that I typically engage and interact with. I also post that type of content sometimes.
Okay, fair.
Like trendy, funny, like music videos, whatever else like that. Basically like stupid humor and then mom stuff. That's what I
fair
look for on social media.
So pumpkins, pumpkin spice, back to school, 10-10.
I'm not breaking any rules. Along with that, I have time before court during our 1 hour, at least minimum, lunch break during the days of the trial, and then after court to
fair.
Do as I will in regard to all of that. So no rules were broken. No rules are being broken now. I appreciate all of your guys' concern. I'm also going to...
The eye roll was so telling. Were people on TikTok just like, oh my God, but you were on social? That's not a problem. They're allowed to be on social if they are sticking to the rules of not looking at stuff around this case. That's not a problem.
To prove that I was on the jury, because there's some of you who just doubt it. Here is my appreciation letter.
Do you see the date on that? September 4th. Juror appreciation letter from the judge. 10 out of 10. Okay.
From Mr. Stephen Everett, the judge on this case, thanking me for my service. Along with that, my document stating...
Oh, that absolutely has the dates of jury service on it. But again, the Tallahassee Democrat was like, yeah, that's a juror. So fine.
I served in the jury every single day of the trial. There's also this lovely thing called public record. Just an FYI. Now with that, I will get into some of these questions, okay? 'Cause I am excited.
I want to hear all the
learned
questions.
So much, and like about the case, but also about the law. And I
Jury
like
duty will do that.
excites me. That I thought it was a cool experience, a crazy first time jury experience. So
A lot of people, when they do jury duty for the first time, are like, I'm excited to do, I want to see this. This is something you hear about. You see it on TV, you hear about jury duty, and when you get to do it, you're like, I want to do that. I like the excitement. I'm here for it.
yeah. Anyway, I stated I was the foreperson, and I was.
Awesome.
Because when we got back to deliberate, once the bailiffs were out of the room and we could, talk about whatever, I asked everyone if anyone wanted to be the foreperson, and everyone was kind of like, I was like, okay, can I do it? Like, can I please?
I love that. I imagine all the jurors were like, no. Every volunteer opportunity, no, I would not like to do that. Awesome. Get all of it.
Also, because I wanted to stay on point with what we were supposed to do. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't want
I love that too.
someone else to have the opportunity to be foreperson and then just take us
Down rabbit holes. I love that too. She's like, look, I have suffered through all of this. Meeting could have been an email, and I am not here for it today. I love it. I love everything about it.
I know how my brain works, so I was just
love it.
like very
Let's do it.
sequential and purposeful with
Love it.
my questions and discussions and what we talked about, whatever.
Love it.
So overall, it took us about just over 3 hours to deliberate and reach our final verdict, right? But within the first hour and a half, I want to say, everyone was agreeing that she is guilty. Everyone.
Ma'am, they could have come back with a verdict then. I have had jurors. I have talked to other attorneys about jurors. I have seen numerous cases where the jury is like, we had a verdict, but we felt like we wanted to talk about it a little bit more. And I have seen that happen numerous times where the jurors are like, I mean, we had a verdict, but we felt bad because that's like real fast. And so we just like chilled and talked. It happens all the time because they're just like, the evidence is the evidence. But they're also like, but it's a serious case. It would have been real interesting if they came back in an hour.
It was unanimous within the first hour and a half. But as the foreperson, you need to be looking for, the different body language, people's facial expressions, all of that, just who may be unsure of something. And we had that. We had two people who said they thought she was guilty. They're like, but I'm kind of confused on this one thing, this like 0.2 on count 2 of her charge, right? So with that, I was like, okay, absolutely not. We are not unanimous right now, so we're gonna go over things. And we went over things point by point, okay? We started count 1. Count 1 was the charge for first-degree murder, and it had several different points that we needed to, address. We went over definitions, we went over principle and how that would apply, all of the different things. We listed out, we had a whiteboard in there, and most of us are visual people, and so we used the whiteboard to go over each point, list out everything that...
I love a whiteboard. I think every jury room should have a whiteboard. If people need to break down what the jury instructions are, they have it. I love that.
Like, people just said that, like, applied and whatever. Those people who seemed a little unsure at first, they ultimately, what was needed, they needed the visual.
That's fair.
We went over everything.
I love it. Everybody had a chance to get heard, went through the whiteboard, talked through what the jury instructions were. Love it.
Several times. Because this is a big decision, and this is serious, and we all took our duty very seriously.
I love that.
This isn't just fun and games and
I mean, fair.
It was a very cool experience to talk about now, and it's exciting. It is someone's life, and it is the law, and we all took it very serious. So, I need people to understand that.
I think that's absolutely great. And it's not dissimilar to what we heard with the foreperson in the Karen Reed case when they spoke out about how the foreperson in the Reed case made sure that every juror felt comfortable and was heard. And we've seen that with numerous jurors that have come forward to talk about one of the things that was important in the jury room is the respect to each other and making sure everyone on the jury felt like they had a chance to hear it and that they felt comfortable with the verdict, because it's a lot of weight to decide something. I don't know if the foreperson will address it or not, but the jury knows that the penalty for this case is substantial based on how many times the defense kept saying, and they got life. Like, the jury was aware. They're not supposed to consider it, but there's an awareness there.
Went over everything, talked about everything over and over. And about the 3 hour mark, once we were like, moving and grooving, we voted several different times in several different ways.
That's interesting.
First had everyone, we went like by each count, right? So I had everyone go one at a time in order of our juror numbers. So 1 through 12. And I was like, okay, so for count 1, count 1 in general, is she guilty or not guilty? And I had everyone go one at a time. We all agreed
That's
guilty.
fair. Okay. A lot of juries would have stopped there. Everybody said guilty. Nice work, everybody. I appreciate that they went through it more. Also, I hope the internet doesn't internet too much at jurors, because I want to see jurors come forward and talk about their experiences. I want to know what the jurors have to say. It's sad to see that all the comments are turned off. It's probably for the best, but I love hey, we're being thorough. That's what you want from a jury. You want them to be diligent.
After that, we did like an all at once vote. And I was like, okay, so for count 1, like, raise your hand if you think she's guilty. We all raised our hands, but it's still doing our duty as we're supposed to. Went over it again. And so, people were...
The other thing is, no one tells you what to do outside the jury instructions that we all hear in court. No one says, this is the right way to vote. This is the wrong way to vote. They go into the jury room, they have the list of instructions that we've all heard, and then they have to figure it out for themselves. And sometimes people have been jurors before, and they say, okay, well, we did it like this before. Sometimes no one's been there before, and they're all like, so we just chat and then we vote. It's not easy. You have to figure it out for yourself. No one tells you exactly how to do it. Every jury gets to decide for themselves how they go through that process.
They're still talking, just like, they're sharing their thoughts with each other about the case and whatever. I was passing out 12 pieces of paper
for
everyone to write their final verdict down. And then I emptied like one of the little containers we had for our snacks and had everyone put it in there. And I did this because I wanted people to, and I said this too, if anyone who's on the jury with me sees this, they know that I did this. I told people, I want you to be 100,000, 50 billion% sure of your verdict. So I want this.
I think that there's no way that Donna can argue that the jury didn't say not just beyond a reasonable doubt, but beyond all possible doubt, because I want everyone to be 1,000,000% sure goes well beyond, I think, how a lot of attorneys would explain reasonable doubt, but it goes to how every defense attorney would want to hear a jury explain reasonable doubt. And I think that's fair. And I think it's what you would want to hear if it was you, someone you loved, that you want the jury to say, I want every single person on this jury to be absolutely, without a question, sure, period. Love it.
I want people to write down what they honestly feel and
love
think
that.
Based on the evidence and the law provided. And without feeling pressured to go along with what everyone else is saying.
I love that.
This is how we can be sure that everyone's on the same page. So write down your final verdicts. We'll go over it. All 12 pieces of paper.
Yeah, and Florida's language is not nearly as to a moral certainty. Massachusetts is one of the only jurisdictions I've heard with that language. But I appreciate the checking in with everybody. All of you need to be sure. Love it.
Guilty. And before I filled out the final verdict form that we had to fill out, we did one more vote. And I went around and everyone needed to tell me out loud and to each other that they found her guilty on
She
all
polled the
three
jury. That first Karen Reed jury wouldn't have ended up where they were if this juror had been on that jury. She's like, no, I'm polling the jury. Every single one of you, tell me what your vote is. Let's figure out where we're at.
And that's what we did. And then, filled out the verdict form, signed and dated it, knocked for the bailiffs to let them know that we were ready.
Love it.
Once they got set up in the courtroom. We went out there.
Dude, they got set up in the courtroom so fast.
Judge asked the foreperson to stand. That was me. I didn't show the...
So the foreperson stood and turned over the verdict. So Donna got to see the foreperson. Y'all, I don't know what your feelings are about this foreperson, but I know what a lot of your feelings are about Donna. Do you think this foreperson annoyed the hell out of Donna? I bet it did. And I'm not mad about it, honestly, because when Donna heard the verdict, Donna lost her mind. I wonder if part of that was because of the foreperson. Because we heard Donna and Charlie talking about how they didn't think much of Charlie's Tallahassee jury. I just wonder if Donna looked at a younger juror and went, but if you're a defense attorney and you hear this juror speak, this juror's like, I took multiple votes. I wanted everyone to be incredibly sure. We took this seriously. I wanted everyone to take this seriously. It's the kind of juror that you want. But I just wonder if it really pissed off Donna. Just curious.
Jurors, but it was me. And I signed the verdict form, which I believe will be public record. But anyway.
Right now it's not public record.
After that, he read the, what do you call it, published the verdict.
And then, ma'am, are you going to tell us about Donna losing her mind?
There was that outburst that we all saw.
Oh, yes, you are going to tell us what you're thinking.
We had to go back.
She called it an outburst. Many of us likened it to a tantrum. The use of the word outburst indicates to me that this was not an emotional response. Mm-hmm.
And then
her face tells you what she thought of it,
there
right?
Was that outburst that we all saw. And we had to go back to the jury room, and when we came out,
they clocked
the party
Donna.
said that they wanted. Judge Everett went one by one, once again, with all of the jurors, and wanted to hear us say under oath that we find her guilty. And
yeah, Judge Everett pulled the entire jury. But Donna, your face. Part of the reason we didn't talk about this a ton on Thursday, it was an exhausting day for everybody. The jury verdict is not final at that point. And so there was always a concern that somehow a defendant's reaction in court could have one juror go, oh my God, I can't do this. I don't think that's the case with Donna after they saw all the evidence. I think this juror's face and what I've seen in the chat and my own feelings about it, after you see all the evidence, Donna going, oh my God, you're just like, oh, you didn't think consequences were coming. When you have sympathetic defendants, there are cases where you're looking at the case and you're like, everything about this case sucks. The circumstances suck. That we're here sucks. All of this sucks. And it could sway an individual juror to be like, that's not my verdict. And that can derail everything. This jury saw shenanigans. I'm not surprised.
it was such a wild experience.
I don't doubt that.
Oh my gosh. I can't wait to share so much more.
All right, that's part one. Let's go to part two.
And do I think she is next? Do I think Harvey might be?
The question is, do you think Wendy was involved?
Absolutely, I do. Now, the state hasn't said that specifically, but there's evidence showing that they were aware of what happened. And I mean, I had to think back and take my notes because, well, write down new notes. We couldn't take the notes that we took during the trial out of that jury room. They get disposed after deliberations.
That's true. The jury notes that they take get destroyed. They can use them. Some judges don't let them take them into deliberations. Some do, but they don't get to take them home with them.
Details. Now, if and when the state goes after Wendy, I think they will. I think it's going to be to a lesser degree. It's not going to be the same charges, only because she insulated herself from her family, from the situation very, very well. Very well. And she also played dumb very well.
We're talking about Wendy in this.
I feel like that's when we saw the acting that Miss Donna referred to previously. She played.
Oh, they clocked the emails. When she says we saw the acting that Donna referred to, the emails were telling Wendy to give the performance of a lifetime. And the jurors are just like, clocked it. We saw this with Donna scripting to Wendy what to say to her lawyer. We saw this with Charlie scripting to Katie McBanawa exactly what to say. So by the time we get to the jailhouse informants, we have this history of different people in the Adelson family telling others exactly what to say for them. Donna telling Wendy exactly what to say to her lawyer. Donna telling Wendy exactly what to say when she testified at Charlie's trial. Charlie telling Katie exactly what to say when they call the undercover, and then Donna telling those in custody what to say. Say it like this, do it like that. They clocked it. Y'all clocked the same thing the jury did, didn't you?
Yeah, she plays that part way too good. So I do think that she will be next. I just don't know what extent. I don't know what she will be indicted on, but she was 100% involved. 100%. Because how would they know Dan's routine, right? Obviously they were given his address, whatever. But
it's fair that they would have known Dan's address because it was also Wendy's address. That's fair. But his routine,
they would have needed some sort of insight as to where they can find him. It's crazy. Also, her whole testimony in her mom's trial.
Oh, there we go.
I don't remember. I don't remember 500 sips of water.
The juror impersonating Wendy Adelson's testimony is hilarious to me.
That has guilt written all over it. Anyone who knows anything about like interpersonal communication or body language, she's dripping in guilt. Okay. I honestly, I don't know how she sleeps at night, to be honest with you, but jurors
are perceptive. Their job is to sit there and look at people and be like, are you telling me the truth or are you fucking with me right now? And this juror was just like, don't play with me.
It's whatever. You're here,
I'm here for it.
As far as, did we discuss that in the jury room during deliberations? Not necessarily. We just described, like, we discussed things about her relating to her testimony and just like things in regard to the case because we had to stay on point. You know, that's what we were there to discuss. So not so much if we think she's next, but after we were released.
I appreciate that the jurors were like, it's not Wendy's trial, but also, what about Wendy? I can't wait to hear what she says about after the trial because they all can stay in touch if they want to.
From our service. Walking back, being escorted by the bailiffs to the where we parked and stuff. It was very interesting to hear everyone's opinions because at that point in time we were allowed to talk about it because we were dismissed from the jury, whatever. Everyone agrees. She's probably gonna be next. We just don't know to what extent.
You know, there's nothing improper if the jurors like get together and like go to lunch or have like a potluck or whatever. Y'all can stay in touch. Lots of jurors do. It might be interesting to go grab a coffee and get to have like a for real conversation about this case because y'all have been through something very unique.
Because yeah, like I said, she insulated herself from the situation and her family way too good. Like I said, she plays the role of dumb, and you know that term ignorance is bliss. Like she is taking that to a whole new level.
What this juror said, though, is going to be interesting input for the prosecution as it comes to the next trial, because they don't have as much information as they would if this was a trial against Wendy, right? But if the ignorance is bliss is how the jury's feeling, it's something that the state is going to have to overcome because there are a lot of messages we saw where Charlie and Donna are saying, don't tell your sister, don't tell your sister. So that is a defense that they are going to have to overcome because this jury is like, she really did try to insulate herself. And she did. Now, whether that was Donna doing it or Wendy doing it is going to be the question. Because when we look at this, I use the domino analogy. The prosecution uses the train. Either way, you know, you can really look clearly at like Charlie to Katie, Katie to Sigfredo, Sigfredo to Rivera. And then in this trial, you get Donna to Charlie. Well, was it Wendy to Donna, Donna to Charlie? Or was it Donna pushing on Wendy and Charlie? And both of those dominoes fell and started different paths of action, where Wendy was going down the path of action, sending information on Jeff to Rob and doing other things. And Charlie was talking to Katie. Was Donna the domino that pushed down both of them? Or did Wendy push on Donna? Which way did it go? Because it could be Donna pushing on both of them and telling Wendy to play her part. We'll see.
Now, she states that in her testimony, she, the morning that Dan was shot, right? She was going to meet some friends for lunch. She
the
had to stop by the liquor store for like a stop.
Right?
Like,
girl,
whatever.
Right though?
Now, the liquor store she chose was completely out of the way. The route she took completely out of the way. There was that exact liquor store.
The prosecution made a map of this, and I had gotten it wrong, probably to the frustration of many that watched Charlie's trial. I had gotten this wrong until the prosecution put it up on the screen. I was like, oh shit. When they put that map up on the screen of like, Wendy lives here, lunch is over here, other liquor stores like right here. And Wendy went like, boop, all the way down by the victim's house, by Dan's house, and then boop, all the way back up. I was like, oh, no. She could have just gone like right over to lunch, stayed all on that side of town. She sure didn't. They clocked it too.
That was closer to her house and in the complete opposite direction, but she chose to go this very long route out of the way.
Yes, she did.
And says she normally takes Trescott Drive, so she goes to try to turn, but there was the roadblock because at that point in time, law enforcement had arrived on scene. Dan was rushed to the hospital, yada, yada, yada. She says she encountered the roadblock, turned around real quick, and just like went a different way to the liquor store. Then they also brought in another witness. The state brought in another witness, the officer who was working like at the roadblock.
It was like full don't be suspicious when she's just like she flipped around and took off. And they clocked it. They were like, me interpreting the jury.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
Wendy hitting the roadblock.
Don't be suspicious.
Right? All of you in the chat clocked it.
He states, which contradicts what Wendy said, that you could see Dan's house, the crime scene, knowing that he also identified her car in the trial during his testimony. He saw her car, and most people, like when they get to a roadblock, they, kind of turn slowly to get, like, we're like, oh, what's going on? Like processing it. No, she like whipped in and out, right? And now knowing that she could see the house and she didn't make any calls to the daycare, to Dan, to check on him, the kids, no calls to law enforcement to see if anything was okay. I mean, like, come on. It just doesn't add up.
It doesn't make sense with how people would behave, which were exactly the questions that we asked during the trial. Wendy, you see that and you go, your kids slept there that night and you don't ask any questions? It's all good? That's not how anyone would act in that situation. And they're allowed to make that determination. They're allowed to go, that behavior doesn't track.
It doesn't add up at all. What else do I have? And then her ex-boyfriend, Jeff Lacasse, testifying. Now, granted, I will say, I think it's very weird that she told him about the hitman thing in confidence, and then he didn't report it. But
they want to know more about Jeff too. Hey, Jeff, I know Jeff was interviewed by police. I have not seen that. If Wendy ever went to trial, more of that would come up, I would imagine.
You do at this point. But that's one thing, like towards the end of their relationship, they were discussing, like the relocation thing, because apparently that Wendy always talked about that, and like the divorce file, yada, yada, yada. And she said, well, can I tell you something in confidence?
Which is weird.
She said, yeah, my brother looked into that hitman thing because at that point in time, he was there to witness it.
Then again, if someone you're dating says that to you, you're like, okay, that's weird. But who do you even report that to? You don't really tell anyone that. You're just like, that's strange. If he didn't tell law enforcement after Dan was shot, I would have more questions. If he did tell law enforcement, hey, this thing comes immediately to mind, less questions.
Joke from Charlie, like, oh, a TV is cheaper than a hitman or something like that. I'm getting off track. Anyway. Anyway, his testimony, like basically the last time that they got together, July 11th, 2014, they met up somewhere. I think it was hot yoga. And
I'm still fussing with my layout.
Basically, he, at that point in time, knew the relationship was over. So he literally backed off as they were leaving, whatever, didn't say anything. But then Wendy turns around and asks him very weird and specific questions about his travel plans in the coming days.
My takeaway from trial the day that Jeff testified was A, they went to hot yoga. Fine. B, hey, what's your route? That shit's weird. That's one of the points that stuck out with me so much. Wendy, you're breaking up with a dude. You drag him to yoga. He doesn't want to go. And then you're just like, hey, you still going out of town? What time are you leaving? Where are you driving? The only reason my spouse is ever asking me, what route are you taking, is if A, there is road something that they need me to know about, or B, they're asking where I'm stopping for snackies. It is such a strange question. Like, I'm breaking up with you, but please, let me know exactly how you're driving. Could you be more specific? Like, are you going by Dan's house? Like, is your phone going to ping off the tower near his house? Like, which way are you going at what time? Wild.
With that, the first time the hitman had come to Tallahassee, they rented a car, a Nissan, that looked just like Jeff's car at that time. And that point in time, too, she was asking specific questions about his travel. So, it's just a little weird. I think she's trying to set him up. And then all the details that they had, she had to have provided it. I mean, obviously. And then, let's see what else. calling her kids by her last name before Dan was ever shot. And then legally changing their last name.
The prosecution fought to get in the name change. It wasn't necessarily coming in, but early on in the case, it's like, why does the Evite matter? Because the kid's name in the Evite about the birthday party was Adelson. Why does the Evite matter? That's why. And the jury clocked it too. Starting to call the kids Adelson before the murder is strange. That is not their last name.
And the older one's middle name, mind you. Middle name and last name 1 year after he died. Also with that, she didn't take the kids to his funeral. That's a little strange. Yeah. They both, Wendy and Harvey, both knew. They didn't say anything. That is a crime.
It sounds like there was a memorial in Tallahassee, but then a funeral in Canada. I hate that the kids didn't go to the funeral. I hate it.
Itself, and I do think they're next. I'm just curious to see when. And
Kid was trying to get on the video. Nope. This is part 3. As a reminder, when somebody is on jury duty, both sides of lawyers and the judge have to accept the juror.
And I see a lot of people saying the ex-military person should have been the foreperson. He is one of the first people to say he did not want to be the foreperson. So, I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
Okay, other jurors didn't want to be the foreperson. Great!
A lot of people are saying that I'm the reason an appeal is going to happen, which is just crazy because if you actually watched and really listened to anything I said, it's just no words. Yeah, I've said absolutely nothing that could hurt the verdict that we can.
Also, just lawyer perspective on this, an appeal is going to happen. Donna was convicted, she's going to appeal. It's not going to be based on the jury talking on social media about it. The jury's allowed to talk on social media about it. And we have seen other cases where jurors were not accurate, in my opinion, misleading in the information they gave to the court that came out later. Even then, it didn't end the case. A juror talking about what this experience was like and what they thought isn't going to change anything. It's not. Jurors are allowed to be on social. They cannot look at information about this case. It's like telling jurors you can't read your email or you can't read a newspaper. You can't read about this case. So if something about the case came up, it's just move on to the next. This is not the argument on appeal.
Came up with, okay? Like I'm not, whatever. And God forbid I be on TikTok. Oh my gosh, somebody arrest me. Oh. And, you know, again, I'm so sorry. I'm just so sorry that I mispronounced a couple words. I mean, do you know what it's like to have your brain working faster than your mouth sometimes? Like, there's just a lot going on. That was a very intense 2 weeks.
All of us, all the time, always. It's fine.
Secondhand, I guess, no, you probably don't know what that's like because you're not using your brain, so.
Oh, there's more clapback.
And, you know, with that, like, I don't know why a lot of you are even just running to the comments and saying that I am just so excited that we gave a guilty verdict. If you actually listen to what I was saying, that's not the exciting part for me. This is my first jury experience. I thought it was very exciting to do my part as a citizen and be selected after that very intense.
I didn't take that away from this. The excitement of being on a jury is what I took away from this. I didn't take away that she was excited about what the verdict was, but that she was excited to be part of the process. That was my takeaway.
Questioning for 2 whole days. I learned so much and I like to learn and that's exciting to me. If that's not exciting to you, that's okay. It's okay.
That's who you want to be on a jury.
You don't have to watch my videos. If you didn't know that, you don't have to.
Ma'am, the internet does not know that. It is apparently a personal attack to them and they need to let you know about it. Not this side of the internet. The law nerds would never. Honestly, I rather see a juror talk in 7-minute, 8-minute videos where they're comfortable than trying to sit down on a set somewhere and talk for 2 minutes about their experience. I don't mind when they do that too. Clerk of Court Becky Hill handing out which media outlets she wanted the jurors to talk to sat so badly with me. It was so gross. I would so much rather jurors be like, look, I don't use my name on this platform, so I can use a platform and share that it's me and share my experience, versus the clerk of court trying to like garner favor and influence by wielding that influence with media outlets that were then kissing her ass to try to get the scoop on the jurors. I hate that. I hate all of that. If she wants to give an interview with somebody, I'm sure they're in her DMs, but she gets to choose. I like this way better.
I clearly have like a sarcastic sense of humor that is also okay, but it's really not my problem to appeal to you.
It is not your problem.
I'm not going to make everyone happy and please everyone that I come across in life, and that's okay. That's not my goal.
I mean, we just want to be you when we grow up.
To watch my videos.
I love it.
But anyway, let's get into it. I got a lot of questions about the snack.
I want to know more about the snacks. Judges do have to do that out of their own pocket. They do go to Costco on their own and grab the snacks.
He didn't have to get us anything, so the fact that we had snacks was great. I know we had like fruit snacks. There was like those little cracker sandwich things, peanut butter and the cheese ones. Though.
Okay, I stand by those 10 out of 10, 100%, because here's the difficulty with buying snacks for jurors. Emily, do you talk about this with judges often? I mean, more often than I ever thought I would in my life. But here's the thing about juror snacks is you want to make sure that you are not bringing snacks where everybody's putting their hand into it, because you don't need all the jurors getting sick. So you need things that are individually packaged, that aren't going to cause allergy issues, that people can eat easily, that aren't going to be a mess, that don't need to be refrigerated. It's a little difficult to try to navigate. Can jurors bring their own snacks? It depends on the court.
Nutri-Grain bars, chips, some chocolates.
Chocolates are kind. Chocolates, fruit snacks, peanut butter crackers, Nutri-Grain bars, energy stuff that's not going to put you to sleep. I like it.
Lots of coffee. And the only time we were provided lunch was the last day. So before, because even though we weren't deliberating just yet, we weren't able to leave the jury room for lunch. So they ordered us some Marco's pizza, which I love. I love Marco's. They said something about possibly ordering Hungry Howie's, and no shade to them, but I'm glad they chose Marco's.
I don't know Tallahassee, but I'm glad they picked pizza. I would hate to be the one person in the jury room being like, excuse me, I know it's weird, I'm allergic to tomatoes. And a lot of the time, lunch is not provided. It really depends on the jurisdiction. A lot of jurisdictions, the jurors go out to lunch. Lunch or dinner is provided when they're deliberating. But no, most trials, they can either bring their lunch or go out to lunch.
I don't know why people are so adamant that we were fed dinner and that took up most of our deliberation time, but that's not the case. We didn't get dinner. They came in the bailiffs came in probably 30 minutes before we reached our final verdict, asking if we would want dinner, but also explaining that it would take probably an hour to get there. And we're just like,
we're almost done.
No, like that's okay. You don't need to waste money to feed us when it's not gonna be necessary.
We're almost done. That's kind.
So yeah, whatever. And yes, Judge Everett, he's great. Like
Judge Everett's
actually
bae.
really cares about his jurors, and he's very well poised and does a great job at keeping his courtroom in order. So I really appreciate that about him.
It's nice to hear what the jurors perceive. Judge Everett's demeanor is so even keeled. The control of the courtroom is just so appreciated by jurors because it doesn't feel chaotic. I imagine the jurors in the Hannah Gutierrez Reed case felt whiplash watching the attorneys fight back and forth and the judge just sitting there being, stop it, stop it. There are other cases I can think of too, but when everything just kind of operates as normal, it also lets the jurors just pay attention to the case and not worry about what are these lawyers doing? Why is everybody wilding out? Why is the judge being like, I will take away your coffee? Nobody likes that kind of chaos.
And then there's a lot of questions asking if I or the other jurors stayed for impact statements. No, we weren't allowed to. Once judge dismissed us from our duty, bailiffs had to escort us to our vehicles for us to leave. So yeah, we didn't get to see them.
But they can watch them later if they want
I also
to.
have not looked up like the other trials or anything else about the case.
Oh, interesting.
Just because, like I said, it's been a very long 2 weeks.
She's
There's
like,
just a
I'm
lot
done.
in my head, trying to like mentally recoup from that. So my brain needs it.
I was exhausted. I'm sure y'all were exhausted. These jurors must have been exhausted, but I also loved the like, I just don't need to know.
I also have a lot of people asking if my mind was made up before we deliberated. No, no. I stayed neutral through the end of the trial, just like we're supposed to.
I love hearing that.
Innocent until proven guilty. I kept my mind open and I took notes on everything. From when both the prosecutor and the defense were arguing their points, I took notes on everything. And what did we think of the attorneys? I mean, I can only speak for myself. I'm not going to speak for the other jurors.
I really appreciate that when people are asking, what did you think of the jurors, that she took a step back to say, I can only talk for me. But I also appreciate that she said, no, I kept an open mind. I wanted to hear what they had to say. I love it.
That's up to them. I thought the prosecution appeared a lot more organized and well prepared. But
Well,
also,
facts.
That's their job. The defense, on the other hand, I, of course, found them to be a little unorganized, but in their position, they technically didn't have to argue anything. That's the burden of proof was on the state and not the defense.
That's incredibly fair. Like the prosecution's organized, they should be. The defense didn't have to do anything. So yeah, they're a little unorganized, but also it sounds like this juror didn't hold it against them. It was like, I mean, yeah, it is what it is, but they don't have to do anything. That's incredibly conscientious.
They could have quite literally said nothing and they wouldn't have been in the wrong. So it is what it is.
That's fair. That's exactly what the law tells them to do. The defense doesn't have to do anything. And she took that to heart because that's following the law. You can't ask for a juror to do any more than follow the law and say, I mean, yeah, they were a little disorganized. That's just facts. But also, they don't have to do anything. So I'm not really judging them on that.
A lot of people seemed really focused on my age, which is very strange to me.
It's the internet.
We had a super balanced jury, like a big age range. I was not the youngest one on the jury. And once again, if we're looking at the jury requirements in the state.
I think the law nerds just want your skincare routine. That's all. Yeah, the internet's going to internet. Also, I don't want a jury that is just made up of people within 3 years of each other. I want jurors with different life experiences, with different backgrounds, with different educational experiences, and of different ages, because they bring different perspectives to the 12 of them to have a conversation. Love it.
Have to be 18 at minimum. So I mean, like,
I've had 18-year-old jurors. It's great.
Whatever.
Love it.
And then got a lot of questions about crime scene photos. Yes, we did see them on the first day of trial, and then also the last in some closing arguments. Back to like the appeal thing. I can't reveal too much when all I have said is like my opinion on, first of all, some things, and then just we literally only had to go off of evidence. So I don't know how I could reveal too much.
You can't reveal too much. She can reveal anything she wants to talk about. She can talk about anything she wants to talk about. That's not going to upend the case.
We had the definition of the laws spoken to us, and then we also had a copy of them to take back to the jury room.
Which is exactly what they do.
So like when we went over everything multiple times, yeah, we went over how the evidence applies to those laws multiple times. It's not hard to have common sense, but whatever. I just,
She says on TikTok, it's not hard to have common sense as people are giving this juror a hard time about literally everything. It sounds like from the way she's clapping back. It shouldn't be hard to have common sense, but also sometimes the internet gets ahead of itself.
There's a lot of people who took it the wrong way, and that's okay. So although this has been fun, I think this is going to be all for me because it's just whatever. I hope you all have a lovely weekend, and I hope some of you act like better human beings than you have, especially to those strangers on the internet.
I don't love that people are giving any juror a hard time. I want to hear from jurors very much. I want jurors to share their experiences. I want them to be able to speak in their authentic voice and share the way they're comfortable sharing. That's what I always want to see from jurors. Do I expect the internet not to be an issue? No, I would like it to not be, especially once a juror is authenticated. There were times that we have seen people fake being jurors, and that creates problems. There are times people have faked being jurors during trial, and that creates problems. But once those in the courtroom authenticated this as a juror, I have no problem with people sharing how they want to share. All right, next video. This is a question that says, also, biggest cringe moment for me was when the attorney for Donna joked that the court reporter was going to quote unquote shoot her for talking too fast. Please tell me you guys heard that. Y'all asked in the chat about this. All of us sat here and went, oh, counsel, no. I'm interested to hear what the jury thought about counsel's turn of phrase.
I do have to chime in on this one. I did hear that. I thought it was extremely tasteless. When we were finally able to deliberate, I brought that up, and I think about 50% of us caught that joke that she made, and 50% of us did not hear it when it happened. But considering she was the defense attorney on a murder trial for someone who was shot, and she makes that joke, it didn't look good. That's all I'm going to say.
It is not the best turn of phrase. People say things when they are in trial because their brains are also tired. However, it was one of those things where lawyers might be in lawyer mode and not step back to think about how it might be perceived by others, but the jurors will clock it. And I think defense attorneys go in needing just for the jurors to wait for their case and to listen to them. And when the defense attorney is discombobulated and joking like, oh my God, I got to slow down this question because if I don't slow down this question, the court reporter is just going to shoot me. And so I got to talk slower. Everybody's like, counsel, we're in a murder trial. She's making side comments about her own process. And the things that will change the way that lawyers talk to juries is the jury reaction. So when there are times lawyers argue things in court and we all go, ugh, I don't love that. If the jury's also going, ugh, I don't love that. It shifts the way that they behave in court, hopefully, because it's one of those things that even if juries aren't like, oh, I'm holding it against this attorney, in the back of their mind, they're like, what are you doing? How can I listen to anything that you're saying? Seriously. There we are. Interesting to see the foreperson of the Donna Adelson jury take to social media to share her thoughts on the case. She clocked a lot of the things that we clocked in the chat, that they listened to both sides, that they took lots of votes, that they were at guilty within the first hour and a half and then took time to discuss it, to go back and look at it again to make sure that everyone was completely solid. A lot of you leaned into the language of Massachusetts, but to a moral certainty, made sure that all of the jurors were comfortable. And then they polled the jury after they filled out the verdict forms and made sure that everyone confirmed that they were comfortable with the guilty verdict. And then the foreperson shared that the day of the verdict, they came out, the verdict was read, and they saw Donna Adelson's outburst was the word she used, went back to the jury room, came back out, were all polled, and then went on their way. It was nice to hear the juror talk about how they followed the law, that they were mindful of one another to make sure everyone had a chance to talk with each other and feel comfortable in their verdict, because it's a serious matter, that they took it seriously, that they went through the evidence and talked about it. And at the end of the day, they were convinced that some of the testimony was very telling to them. And of course, she was asked, what do you think about Wendy? And she said, look, we focused on Wendy's testimony and her helpless act that we heard Donna refer to. We heard Donna refer to the act. Give the performance of your life, Wendy. This jury clocked quite a lot of the things that we saw during trial and had praise for the judge and how he controlled his courtroom and how mindful he was of the jury. But also, when asked about what did you think of the attorneys, the foreperson gave an incredibly considered answer saying the defense seemed more disorganized, but the defense doesn't have the burden. The defense doesn't have to even put on a case. The defense doesn't have to do anything. It's on the prosecution. This foreperson listened to the law and did what was asked, applied the law to the facts, made sure everyone in the jury room deliberated, made sure they took multiple votes and rendered a verdict unanimously that they all felt was the correct verdict. You can't ask for anything more in a juror who's taking 3 weeks out of their life to sit and determine the facts of a case while both sides argue that it should be their way. I love it when jurors come forward and talk. I really appreciate the enthusiasm of being excited to be a part of a jury. I know many of you, when you get called for jury duty, are just like, okay, jury duty is going to be hard, but I want to be on jury duty. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be a part of the system that impacts so many of our lives. And I appreciate jurors coming forward and sharing their experience, even when social media gets difficult. And I hate that side of it, that there's always going to be people that just want to shit on it. I want to hear what jurors have to say. We learn about what they're thinking. We learn about how they see evidence. We learn about if they understand the verdict forms or not. We learn about how they follow the rules. And we learn about how they handle cases in a dynamic media landscape that is still, for the law, new. It used to be telling the jurors just don't look at the paper. Okay, well, that's not the world we live in anymore. And to hear jurors talk openly about, yeah, I was still on social media, but my social media page doesn't have anything about this, because this isn't the side of social media I'm even on, really goes to how personalized algorithms are these days. Because there's stuff happening all over social media that I know nothing about and have to ask my kids about, because that's my age. With all of it, I'm really happy to see how considered this jury was. And I really love that this juror talked about the fact that these jurors really didn't know about this case before they came in. To hear Donna or Charlie Adelson tell it, this case is the biggest thing that's ever happened, and everyone knows everything about the case. And they were able to find jurors who were just like, who? They found them in the Gwyneth Paltrow case. They found them in the Depp Heard case, and they will continue to find jurors in high-profile cases that don't know about the cases. And I think individualized algorithms actually improve that a bit, because if people don't care about cases, they're really not going to see it. They might be able to tell you everything about the native snakes of Tennessee Dr. B, or the rankings of all of the 2025 DCI shows, because that's what they're looking at on social. But they're not going to start getting random stuff because algorithms are so personalized. And so I actually don't think it's unusual that a juror can be on social media and see nothing about a particular case if this is not what they're interested in. And if a juror is particularly interested in following courts and cases, they might not be a juror on a given case anyway, just because they know so much about it. I know that a lot of attorneys say, how are we ever going to find a jury in this case? They found a jury in lots of higher profile cases. They will find juries, even if they have to bring jurors from a broader area. There are plenty of people that are living their own lives that aren't paying attention to these cases at all because they're more interested in crocheting or yarn or pens or birds or whatever it is. And this wouldn't come across your feed. I love hearing about it. Thanks for joining me. If you enjoyed this episode and don't want to miss updates on your favorite cases, you're going to need the Law Nerd app at lawnerdapp.com. That way you can stay in the loop on the cases that matter most to you, and you never know when you're going to catch feelings for a new case. So make sure you get it for free on iOS and Android. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being a law nerd.